change in use process and what it looks like on what work we've done to date on what the work looks like to date and what work we've done on Easy Grade Trail. This is Alex Stell, who's actually a statewide Roads and Trails Manager. So was involved in developing the PEIR that allows for change in use in state parks, evaluating, actually developing part of the process for change in use. I want to start out by saying friends of Mount Tam. I'm also a friend of Mount Tam. And in my job, I'm sometimes tasked and always try and keep it in the forefront of protecting our resources, natural resources, cultural resources. Roberto gave you a little rundown on education and background, and I'm going to do the same, and I'm going to do it because when we're going through the CIU process, we have staff that are senior staff, we have staff that are specialists, and we try and get the professionals that need to take a look at it and that have the knowledge to do the evaluations in that process. I'm a registered professional archaeologist. I've got a bachelor's and a master's in anthropology, and I'm also been a general contractor, worked in science fields, lots of stuff, been with parks since 2007. Part of this evaluation process is putting together a multidisciplinary team. So we have representatives from visitor services, Roberto Walton, you guys know him. For cultural resources, I was there. Also on the maintenance side, I was there. For natural resources, we have senior environmental scientist Cindy Schaefer and Bree Hardcastle. Anybody know Bree Hardcastle? Very active on Mount Tam. And consummate professionals. Also have Jason Spann, landscape architect out of Alex's shop, who came down and did some of the evaluations with us. So when we look at doing a change in use, people have opinions on change in use and what that use might be. We try and stay out of whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. What we do allow for in California state parks is a change in use process. There are some usages that weren't happening in state parks in 1928. Some of these new things, when we talk about cell phones, we don't have policy when the park was created or when the general plan was done on cell phones, but we have policy around those. You think of something like a drone, that's something where we've developed new policy within California state parks now and allowable usage. So one of the things that we did is their bicycle community has looked for equal access to parks. Through our resource code, we've looked at that, and that is allowable use in state parks. Fairly active bicycle community in Marin. People want to say it's that place where those understatement. And I don't know if Danita brought them in, but there was a box of tomatoes out there. We're going to set those on the back table if you guys want to. But active community, and people want to be able to recreate. California Department of Parks and Recreation has made a determination that that's a recreation activity that we would like to support where appropriate. We've gone through and looked at that from an environmental perspective. There's been debate for years on whether there are heavier impacts from one type of activity or another. We've done those evaluations. We've made determinations, and we've come up with a process for evaluating trails for new usage. It's not about the new trail. Some new trails go in, they may be multi-use, they may be single track, they may be dedicated to one user group or another. But what we try and do through parks is when we go to a change in use or we design a trail or we maintain a trail, we try and do it for all those users that are designated for that area. It isn't that it's a preference for one or the other. There was a request that was brought to the district for allowing bicycle usage on Easy Grade Trail. Our process allows for doing an evaluation. Part of that process is putting together a multidisciplinary team to go out and evaluate it. There was some of the asks that have come to us Marin Parks as early as 2005. There's a couple of change in use that have been done on the mountain, Coast View and Diaz Ridge multi-use trails. So requests came to us, and what we wanted to do is put together a multidisciplinary team to take a look at that What are the grades that are out there? What does the environment look like out there? There were some preliminary looks that were done in 2009, and there were some pin flags that were laid out for a potential reroute to try and get reduce some of the grades, which would reduce speed on that if you get a bicycle on that alignment. And we recently, 2015, put together a team of folks and went out and re-looked at that. Where those pin flags were that people may have been looking at for many years is not a preferred alignment. We walked that with our natural resource folks, and we might have impacted areas. It takes it through a serpentine environment, and we're avoiding that area. So there are a couple of potential realignments that we looked at and walked those areas and did preliminary analysis for what those plants assemblages are in that area and what cultural resources are in that area. We also came out with there's a process within the CIU for making a determination, and it's an objective criteria. So there are questions that are lined out, and you answer those based on what you find out in the environment that you're looking at, what are the proposed usage and how would they apply. Through multidisciplinary team, we made a determination that the addition of bicycle usage on that trail was something that might work. It's something that we would do a further analysis to see if it would be an allowed activity or allowed usage that could be added. So the CIU process itself, and I'm going to let Alex talk about that. I'm just going to stay specific to Easy Grade for a minute. It's all that the CIU does is determine, is it possible with the geography, with the plant assemblages, natural resources, cultural resources, with potential modifications, is it possible to allow that usage? And what we've done is we've determined that yes, it is. For that process, that's done. Can you allow bicycles to be used on the trail? Maybe. Next step is to go through and look at it as a project. So what we've said is that there would be allowable usage of bicycles on the trail with modifications. What do those modifications look like? What studies need to be done in front of any proposed modifications? That's kind of where we are now. Next steps will be to do a detailed trail log, rolling it foot by foot, what conditions exist, what conditions might need to be changed. Those will be evaluated against natural resource and cultural resource concerns. We will enter into a CEQA process, California Environmental Quality Act. We will have the programmatic environmental impact report for change in use as our guiding document. And we will employ botanists to go out and do rare plant surveys. We will be shooting the trail with inclinometers to see what we have for grades. If there are grades in excess of what we might like to see, we'll have pinch points that are put in, other devices for scrubbing speed. We have a lot of options to do. But at this point, our next step, we're going to be go out and do a detailed trail log and take a look at the existing conditions. If we need to do natural resource studies, those will be done in front of that. And we'll also have some cultural resources. Folks may know that's a Civilian Conservation Trail, great Civilian Conservation Corps trail that was put in there. Went in about 35 or 36. It was called Easy Grade because it was easier than Bjelajac. And Bjelajac Trail 80s, 90s had modifications that scrubbed some of the elevation off of that. So Easy Grade and Bjelajac are kind of the same now, but Easy Grade was the easier hike to the theater than Bjelajac. Alex, if you can talk a little bit about statewide process, what's happened, what is it for evaluations? We've done many of these, not many, we've done quite a few up and down the state. Alex has been involved in most of them, but you know, as Jordan had said, we try and keep the emotion out of it. We try and I can get as passionate as anybody, but I'm about resources. If you know me, you know that's true. But we'll look at those natural resources, those cultural resources, but there's a process for doing these evaluations, science-based. Alex Stell.
Hi, everyone. You clap now, but later. Thanks for having us. Okay, so, I'm going to give you just a little bit of, Victor did a really great job of walking through the Easy Grade process. You probably already have a very good idea of the process. I know that you've got an information